So there was a time in career, I used to work for an organization that went moribund. It was a bank, and it was such a terrible experience. Terrible experience. There was a run on the bank, and I hope there was. I hope I don't have my former colleagues on the call here, but it's fine if you're here. You can relate. It was traumatic. We had customers come into the banking hall, and they would stand on the table and say, "Give me my money." In fact, I was head of HR in the company at the time, and I had one customer who walked into my office and insisted that he wasn't going to leave the bank until he was giving his money. And the bank couldn't do that because there was no money. And the customer locked the door of my office, locked me and him inside my office, and my office had a transparent door, and he was inside. And he started removing his shirt, his trousers. I'm like, what's going on here? And then my colleagues outside were banging on the door, and I was shocked. Like, I was shocked beyond every sane level. I was asking myself, this is not my business. It's not my father's business. What am I doing here? What is about to happen? Anyway, nothing happened. The customer just wanted to scare, and he did achieve his purpose. But that left a very deep scar in my mind. And I mean, when we got out of that situation, I just decided that no more. I was never going to work for a bank anymore. Never. Till now, till tomorrow, I can't bring myself to think of working for a bank. Even when I get job, mouth-watering applications, you might be head of HR for this MFB. You're so good. I'm like, no, thank you. Jennifer, please mute your mic. So that's the kind of thing trauma can do. It leaves a really deep scar in your heart. So where stress says, I am tired, but I can recover. Workplace trauma says, I no longer feel safe. Nope. I no longer feel seen, or I no longer feel capable here. This happened in places where you once felt confident, places where you once loved, but suddenly that just dried out because of something. So that's a huge difference between stress and trauma. And some things, just so you can relate a little more, what trauma feels like is you're walking on eggshells in the office or around certain colleagues, or you see one colleague coming this way, your heart just skips, or you see your boss coming this way, your heart skips, or you start sweating, or you take another route. That's trauma. Or you're dreading meetings or check-ins. Like, I remember I used to work in a particular organization where I dreaded Mondays. So all of you that dread Mondays, you're responding to a traumatic traumatic trigger. That's trauma. And we will find out the root cause, or how to find the root cause and what to do about it. Or you're losing your voice, your creativity, or clarity. You can't think. You used to be so good at something, but not anymore. And maybe it's because of one thing somebody said one day, and that's it. You're like, that's it, I'm done. You just closed off in that area. Another way it feels is like feeling stuck, feeling numb as in you used to be excited, but you just don't have it anymore in you with respect to someone or the job that you're doing. Or you start doubting your value, even in roles that you were good at. Or the flip side of it is you start overcompensating just to feel safe at work. You start working so hard, staying late, coming extra early, That's I tell you, that's trauma. Sorry, I'm coming. Yeah, so how does trauma distort your image? You'd ask, how does it distort that perfect image that you used to have? When trauma is not processed, it has a way of distorting your image, like a cracked mirror reference that I made earlier. You can still see yourself, but what you now see is often wrapped around fear, shame, or survival beliefs rather than the truth of who you are. And then subtly, gradually, it starts eroding on your self-perception, begin to doubt yourself, or you have a different narrative of who you are. So, no, this thing, no, it's not for me. No, not for people like me. It used to be for people like you, but it begins to change your perception, your self-image and narrative. It shrinks your sense of worth, teaches you to focus on what went wrong rather than who you really are. So you're overthinking. You're like, so that thing that happened, maybe if I had done this, maybe if I had said it this way, maybe I think you play the scene over and over in your head. That's trauma. Shrinks your what? You start saying I'm not competent enough, or I'm only valuable when I am performing. So you exert yourself, or you stop speaking up. You say, oh, if I speak up, I'm going to be punished, or I'm going to be called out, or someone's going to criticize me. Next thing is you start confusing identity with pain. And then you start after you replay difficult experiences in your mind, especially toxic workplaces, you start saying things like, I think I'm too sensitive for this industry. Like I told myself, oh, I think the banking industry is not just for me anymore. Or you say, oh, I always mess things up. I know myself. No, I always mess things up. Oh, I'm not leadership material. Please, I beg, I don't want that headache. I don't. But these are not truths. They are trauma responses rooted in the need to deal with something really serious. You also find people begin to build walls, start building walls. Right, back. Right, so we're about to talk about minor traumas. So list being overlooked or ignored. It's not normal. Some of you think, oh, it happens at work. It's normal. It's one of those things. It's a minor trauma. So if you're constantly not being included in decisions or decisions being made at work, but you're supposed to, or opportunities, that's traumatic. Lack of recognition. You know you're doing well. Everybody knows you're doing well, but you're never recognized. Your contributions are not acknowledged. If we have leaders on this call or you're guilty of this, please stop traumatizing your employees by doing this. So people say, oh no, if we praise him, it's going to get into his or her head. No, you're causing more harm if you don't acknowledge or praise. Then there is also chronic overwork without appreciation. You're being pushed to deliver without support, rest, or reward. You have bosses who will say, get it done. I don't care how you do it. Just get it done. Like, that's so horrible. You think you're building resilience. You're not building resilience. You're breaking the person. In favoritism, everyone knows this one. Favoritism, unequal treatment, or biased leadership that causes injustice. Some leaders will want to explain this away to say, but this employee is giving me what I want. He or she's giving me what I want. You can't blame me. We will blame you. You're creating a toxic work environment by doing that. And there is this one that is very common: unclear expectations or moving goalposts. I've seen situations, I've been called into situations, conflict resolution situations, where the boss will say, is he not a professional? Is he not supposed to know what he should do on the job? Yeah, but the employees say, what exactly do you expect? Because everything I've done does not seem to be okay. So what does okay look like to you? Or he or she or the employee achieves a goal, and then the boss comes and said, no, let us do this, or things will change, or you extend the expectation, or what is a green check mark for you. It can be frustrating. That's why it's always great to have job roles, KPIs, metrics. If you're an employee and you don't have that, please ask your supervisor to say, man, ask to say, what are the quarterly metrics? What are we gunning for? What's my job scope? So that you are clear and you can run on your own. Then there is also dismissal of ideas. So you're always making contributions, but somehow you get shut down, you get minimized. That's quite traumatic. Toxic positivity. So there's a real concern in the organization. There's a problem on ground, but the management is not coming out to say, this is the problem, or acknowledging the problem. Instead, they say things like, hey, let's stay positive. Let's stay positive. Things will change. But you're not speaking to the matter. You think you're calming people down, but you're increasing a lot of anxiety. It's like putting a band-aid on a bleeding wound. It can create a lot of uncertainty amongst employees and make them traumatic. Another is being micromanaged. Maybe most of us have experienced it at some point or the other. The boss wants to know every step of the way what you're doing. And I tell you, the boss in his or herself is responding to a traumatic situation from the past. So any boss that micromanages has a traumatic experience that he or she has not dealt with. That's why he can't trust to have the employee do that thing end to end. For the employee, it's traumatic. And there is also emotional validation. We have 4 more to go. So your feelings are brushed aside or minimized. So you're sharing how you feel about maybe how you were spoken to at work or a certain action that was taken against you. And you're not being acknowledged. Like, why should you feel that way? Why should you feel that way? It's normal. Why not just get past it? Get on with it. No, people need to have their feelings validated so that they can feel heard and then the situation is solved and they can move on. So lastly is I will okay, there's an echo somewhere. Right. Lack of psychological safety, fear of speaking up or sharing opinions without backlash. This happens most of the time. You find organizations say, oh, we have an open door policy. Everyone can speak up. But when you speak up, oh my goodness, what you say will be torn into shreds in the name of criticism. And then you will wish you never spoke before. Okay, just one more. Consistently poor communication from leadership, being left in the dark, or receiving vague, conflicting messages. Some organizations think that by not being open and communicating and talking about what's really going on in the company, that they are keeping some things confidential. You know, we're protecting something. We cannot promise if we say this now and something changes tomorrow, what do we do? And it happens with employee growth. Please mute your mic. Employee growth in the organization. So you organization plans on advancing or giving higher responsibility to a particular high flyer, but they hold back from sharing it, telling the employee, oh, this is the plan we have for you. If this happens, this is where we are going to place you by next year or by the end of the year. They hold back and say, oh, let's wait, let's be sure before we share. The employee is wondering, what's going on? I'm not hearing anything. Nobody's telling me anything. Am I valuable to this organization? And then he or she begins to make plans to exit. It's quite traumatic. And then when the employee resigns, you are like, why did you leave? We're just planning to promote you. Sir, why did you tell me since? So consistently, communicating well, great communication leadership is very key. And this spreads to other areas, not just as regards staff growth. So let's always be transparent and speak up and avoid situations like this.